They were fast, they were good, and they were fun. The Vancouver Canucks shut out the Colorado Avalanche 3-0 at Rogers Arena. We got lots to talk about. It's time for Rink-Wide Vancouver. And we welcome you inside the Rink-Wide Vancouver studios on a night that saw the home team defeat the Colorado Avalanche 3-0. Thatcher Demko, terrific in the second period particularly, but good all night long. Canucks leading goal scorers found the range. That hasn't happened often enough for this team, and the newcomers were impressive yet again. Hey, have the Vancouver Canucks turned a page? Maybe. They certainly put on a show for the home fans, and that hasn't happened nearly enough all season long. It's Jeff, and it's PJ with you here on Rink-Wide Vancouver, a presentation of Bet365. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Be sure to use code NATION when you open an account. And, of course, we always tell you right off the hop, hit us up with a Super Chat. This year, our Super Chat partner, the charity partner, the BC Mental Health Foundation, changing the face of mental health and addiction by supporting breakthroughs in care, public understanding, research, and knowledge exchange. Jake DeBrusk in the second period, Brock Besser on a power play in the third, and Drew O'Connor into an empty net seals the deal. Vancouver 3, Colorado no score. Patrick, who were those guys? The entertainment factor was through the roof tonight at the Raj.
Absolute entertainment, Jeff. These guys, I just met three of them this morning, finally making it down there. Absolutely sensational stuff. I joked to someone, I think these guys have a chance, Jeff.
It felt different in there.
Yeah.
I will say that.
Yeah.
They are playing faster, without a doubt. They injected speed, but I think that there is sort of that effect, the knockoff effect on makes some of the other guys look faster.
Yeah, the speed of Hedl and O'Connor are notable. Like those immediately stand out. They're Rick Tocchet ended up talking a little bit after the scrum this morning, and he was just sort of thinking, everyone's saying, well, maybe people will figure out how to cut into the slot. And he goes, yeah, hopefully, because exactly like the things that we're seeing from their speedier players, and I think it's not, to be honest, just about the speed that Hedl and O'Connor are bringing. I think it's the way they're moving the puck up the ice. We saw that even on Sunday. I'd mentioned this a little bit. Obviously, it was not a win, but the way the process was working just looked quicker. Marcus Pettersson, clearly that's one of his skill sets. Elias Pettersson, 2 games in a row now I'm talking about.
There's a new hero in town.
There's something there. But just the overall, the way the things are moving up the ice, they're getting the puck up the ice. That, the breakout pass on the second goal from Filip Hronek, like we have not seen plays like that very much this season, to be perfectly honest. So, sure, it's one game, but it's also a pretty big game. It's a pretty big win against another tough opponent.
Well, the Beer Baron in the YouTube live chat says, and they did it without Quinn Hughes, the two googly eyes. Absolutely.
Just imagine what happens when they add him to this lineup.
Can he get back in? Where do you slot him? No, let's not go there. But yes, look, defense and the composition of the defense, and a bit of a surprise based on what we saw at the morning skate to the way Rick Tocchet rolled out his 6th defenseman. Carson Soucy was back. Certainly something to talk about. But look, yes, without Quinn Hughes, they didn't skip a beat. They played well against Detroit the other night, well enough to win, but ultimately didn't. Settled for the single point in the overtime loss to the Red Wings. But boy, they got it right here. And again, I want to give the Canucks all the credit they're due, but it was more just the entertainment value. And I know you watched the game from the studio. I was there for the first couple of periods down at the rink. That second period maybe as entertaining as we have seen since opening night when the Canucks and Calgary combined for 11 goals.
Yeah.
They had 1 goal through 40 minutes in this hockey game, but don't tell me that low-scoring games can't be fun and exciting and full of all sorts of big moments. That sequence in the middle of the second period where old-time Thatcher Demko, and when I say old-time, I mean last year, the Vezina finalist, that's as good and as dialed in as he has looked at any point this season.
And without a stick for most of that, too.
Without a stick. Yeah.
We were yelling at the TV here. Come on, give him a stick, pick it up. You guys are allowed to do it. Anyway, he didn't need it. It was very good to see, especially, I think as we've noticed, he's maybe struggling with some shots on his left. And to see him moving with confidence from right to left, taking chances away, and you know what, good support from the defenseman in front of him. Yeah, that was as big of a scramble as we've seen all year. That's been the other funny thing with this team, Jeff, is how well this team actually has played through everything generally defensively. That was a breakdown, but they needed their goalie, and their goalie was absolutely massive. By the way, 26 shots combined in the second period, Jeff. You're talking about excitement. I mean, there's a reflection right there.
Well, yeah, and on the night, 31-25, closer to what you would say is normal around the National Hockey League. You see a lot of teams in the teens. Canucks certainly have been there on a handful of occasions, but Canucks got 31 and aided by power plays. Now, that in itself is a story, too, because the other night against Detroit, third time in 11 games, the Canucks didn't get a single power play opportunity. They drew power plays, and Brock Besser scored not a conventional power play goal off the rush, but they all count. What a feed. First of all, the quick up, as you talked about, from Hronek, and then Jake DeBrusk over to Brock Besser. Look, the Canucks' two leading goal scorers scored in this hockey game. That's something that hasn't happened nearly enough this year, where their best players have been productive on the same night, right? Like, that's one of the reasons. It didn't happen for JT Miller. It didn't happen for Elias Pettersson. Hasn't happened enough for Brock Besser this year, and Jake DeBrusk is so streaky, and look, he scored in 2 of 3. Maybe the pendulum is swinging again for Jake DeBrusk.
Well, and that's the important thing. Obviously, Brock Besser had all those chances on Sunday, could have made a difference. Tonight did make a difference. And a guy we'll see how much longer Brock Besser's a Vancouver Canuck, depending on things shake out here. But these are the kinds of performances. If this team's going to make the playoffs, this is what they need. And Jake DeBrusk was brought in to be this guy, scored his goal very tight. I mean, what a play, pulling the puck down and then short arming actually with the stick to make the finish. I mean, that we got the full Jake DeBrusk experience tonight with the finish on the goal. And then I want to keep watching the saucer pass he made to Brock Besser on the goal. I just want to keep watching it over and over again because it was so perfect. And, the delight, by the way, that smile that everyone saw on Brock Besser's face, that was the same smile he gave me a couple weeks ago when we had our lovely conversation.
Everybody gives you that smile. Come on, you know that. I want to go to Jake DeBrusk's goal because, A, it's a game winner. You don't know it in real time. It opened the scoring late in the second period. I joked on social that it was a bit of a fair catch. I mean, he reaches up, puts it down, and then it was a weird sequence. Hronek driving on the right side, plays the puck to the front of the net. Mackenzie Blackwood, who, by the way, had posted back-to-back shutouts over Philadelphia and St. Louis, hadn't given up a goal since the third period of a game a week ago against the New York Islanders. He did his part. I mean, he kept it scoreless until the late stages of the second, but there was DeBrusk driving the net, the interior, dare I say, the middle of the ice, Patrick, going hard to the net and able to bank it in just inside the post. And so that breaks a scoreless tie, and Jake DeBrusk on the board, his team leading 19th of the season. One of the things I've been tracking with him is, A, he's been way too quiet of late. Scored in garbage time in Dallas the other night. Hadn't scored since the game in Montreal before that. Those 2 goals both on the power play. This is his first 5-on-5 goal since the first game out of the holiday break against the Seattle Kraken.
Oh, wait, what?
First 5-on-5 goal. Yeah.
I mean, I know he'd been quiet. I didn't realize he'd been that quiet.
Yeah. So, again, we know now that he is a streaky guy. He came with that sort of reputation or label. Mm-hmm. And when he gets it going, and we saw in November that he was unstoppable for a stretch there, and everything kind of went his way. So maybe he's got it going again here, feeling good. Whatever the case, big goal for him in the hockey club. He's at 19, so he's knocking on the door of a 20-goal season, which I think was sort of the bare minimum that we expected from this guy when they signed him in the offseason, given the role that he was supposed to play here. The center that he was supposed to be paired with, we know that that's a different story altogether. But he's at 19, and there's lots of runway here, 29 games remaining. So I like that play. Canucks open the scoring. Again, just back and forth in that second period, and we're just not conditioned to that. But, there were a couple of things. Filip Chytil replaced DeBrusk on the power play. Canucks had the first power play of the hockey game where they rolled out the way that they skated this morning at the morning skate. The 4 sort of veteran guys that you would think, and he and Hronek taking Quinn Hughes' spot. First power play didn't look great. So they get their second power play late in the first period, and Filip Chytil was promoted to the top unit, and he replaced DeBrusk. But then power play carried over to the second period, and with fresh ice to start the period, it was Garland that was taken off, and Chytil was still out there, but DeBrusk was back. So Rick Tocchet moving some pieces around, trying to find something. We're not going to harp on it too much. There's some work to be done on the 5-on-3 situation.
Oh, my goodness.
Could have absolutely.
You didn't enjoy that?
Well, no, I didn't. But again, you'd like to, a little bit of killer instinct, just put the game away. Even though they had a 2-0 lead at the time, that was an opportunity to end this, take away any doubt, and call it a night. And, yeah, just...
a little too hesitant. Like, they moved the puck around, but then, they'd set up these one-timers, and then they missed the net, which we all know how Rick Tocchet feels about it when you miss the net.
Yep.
It was just that sequence where you're like, okay, yeah, you're exactly right. I mean, it was a 2-minute 5-on-3. That should be one where you bury it. I mean, you're not necessarily going to score they could have scored off the face-off because there was a broken stick. It was a 5-on-2.
That's right.
And they couldn't even control the play.
Brock with a weak pass there.
Brock kind of flubbed it or whatever. But, I mean, I think that was one of those ones where it's like, you move your feet.
Yep.
Have we heard that before? I think we've heard that before, Jeff.
I have. Look, the flip side is that the Canucks had all the power plays in the third period. Nathan MacKinnon, in a 2-0 hockey game, Nathan MacKinnon sat on the bench for 6 straight minutes.
Yeah.
And how do you beat the Colorado Avalanche? Keep Nathan MacKinnon at bay. Miles Wood basically took the NHL's leading scorer out of the equation with all of the stupid penalties that he took. Miles Wood took 5 straight penalties at one point for the Colorado Avalanche, and Canucks ultimately made him pay. DPD drew the penalty that put the Canucks on the power play when Besser scored. So we'll get to DPD's night here in a sec, but just another way that he was able to contribute. But also, the Canucks took 2 penalties in the first period, Pius Suter and Drew O'Connor, and that was it. So discipline, you don't want to put that Avs power play to work with MacKinnon and Makar, and Marty Necas just absolutely flies. Like MacKinnon and Necas, the first period, it looked like a video game in real time. Like, it just, the opportunities. And look, the Canucks were aided by 3 posts. They got some bounces. Sometimes you need those. Makar twice on the power play, and Necas off the pass, centering pass from MacKinnon. Caught iron, but didn't find their way into the net. So a perfect night for Thatcher Demko, 25 saves, first shutout of the season, and the 9th of his career, which leads us into our 3 stars. Let's get to the 3 stars of this hockey game. The 3 stars in the building: Thatcher Demko, Jake DeBrusk, and DPD getting the nod there. 2 of the 3 here on Rink Wide. We've got Demko, we've got DeBrusk. I'm with you, though. This was a game that Filip Hronek had to have, quite frankly. Quinn Hughes out of the lineup for a second straight game. Rick Tocchet maybe let the cat out of the bag a little bit at one point this morning and suggested that we may not see Quinn Hughes in these next couple of games as well. So we'll see how that goes. But Filip Hronek is paid like a primetime player, sometimes lost in the shadows of Quinn Hughes, but when the captain isn't there, he looked like a dominant driving force in this hockey game. Not just the 2 assists, did it at both ends of the ice. So we like DPD as well. We'll give him an honorable mention here, and we'll certainly talk about him. But Phil Hronek gets the 3rd star. 2 assists, and as you can see on the screen, 3 blocks as well. So engaged. Needed to hit the net a couple of times on that 5-on-3 too when they put it on a tee for him. But again, we're not going to hold that against them. They won the hockey game, so good on them. Clean sweep of the stars for the Vancouver Canucks. There you go, the 3 stars. Demko, DeBrusk, and Filip Hronek, the 3 stars, a presentation of Greta Bar YVR. All the big screens. I'm sure this game looked glorious on all of the big screens at Greta. The street food menu, weekly drink specials, and of course, if you're not watching the game, maybe you're playing games, the arcade games that they've got throughout the facility as well. Check it out, Greta Bar, the place to be, 50 West Cordova. Greta Bar, let the games begin. All right, the live chat is hopping, and I joked a little earlier, but it does feel like a star is being born in front of our eyes here in the form of one Elias Pettersson, DPD to you and me. Battle Mode Bainbridge. The D is so much better with DPD and Marcus. Kyle, defense is so much better. Digital Trance, not Digital Drance, Digital Trance. DPD making it very hard for Tocchet, or is he? Maybe he's making it pretty easy for Rick Tocchet. Francis Jane says DPD's here to stay. Yeah. With this decor, can we make Hughes a center? People are suggesting, we got a super chat saying the defenseman is better than the forward by the same name, and I've seen that comment a few times in the chat as well. This wasn't a great night for the original Elias Pettersson, but for this night, I think we maybe put that aside a little bit, just that there are better storylines to dig into. And let's get to DPD's night, Patrick, because he was confident, he was assertive, he was physical, didn't back down. I said he drew the double minor on Miles Wood that led to the power play. He owned Logan O'Connor all night long, finished him a couple of times, showing some replays here on the live stream. This guy, I know it's 4 games, so 3-0-1 with him in the lineup, and so that just sort of adds to this argument that they are a better team with the 20-year-old third-round draft pick so far ahead of schedule in terms of his arrival in the National Hockey League. The city's getting drunk on him. I think you have to be careful, but he certainly doesn't look out of place at this level.
Through 4 games, according to Natural Stat Trick, 1 high danger chance against while he's on the ice.
I believe it.
He's played very tight. I mean, we saw the diving poke check away, knocking the puck away from danger.
Yep.
Obviously, things are going to get bumpy for him. It's going to happen. But you can see why. You can see why they were so high on him even before he showed up in Abbotsford, right? Like he had a great World Juniors a couple years ago, right after he was drafted. They were very excited when they drafted him, not just because they found the humor in the name, obviously, but the talent of the player. And there's bite to this player. Like he plays it hard, and he's looking fine with the puck. I mean, he's not, who's Vinny Desharnais, right? Like there's just no struggles getting the puck up the ice. And as I said earlier, like the fact that they are able to keep control of the puck in their zone and move it quickly. It's not just completing the pass, but it's being able to move the puck quickly and rapidly and several times if you need to be, and just moving. Because, Marcus Pettersson said to me this morning, he said, nobody moves faster than the puck, right? Like the puck is how you get things going. And for a young player like Elias Pettersson to be showing this so well in the NHL, where things are that much faster and that much more precise. I mean, I asked him this morning a bit about, the transition. Of course, playing AHL hockey can be so scrambly. The NHL is predictable, but there's no time, and you just have to do it. And that's the thing that's been most impressive to me, is that he just hasn't looked frazzled by the speed of the game.
By the numbers, plays 13 minutes and 57 seconds, had 1 shot on 5 attempts. This guy's not afraid to shoot the puck.
No.
Had that chance in the second in the slot where it came out, and when he kind of got, it looked like he got half the puck. Like he didn't get all of it. If he did, I think he probably has his first NHL goal. 4 hits. Couple of penalty minutes. Again, trouble came looking for him. You love that. If you're physical at this level, you're going to draw the attention of other teams, and Miles Wood was on a mission to spend most of his night in the penalty box, and he succeeded on that front. But underlying numbers, had somebody in the chat asking about DPD's underlying numbers. Pretty solid. Individual Corsi of 53.9%. The shots even at 6 apiece, so a saw-off in that regard. So not dominant by the underlings, but again, 4 games into the NHL, one of them against the Washington Capitals, who were the best team in the NHL.
Yeah.
He made his debut against the Capitals and was pretty solid there, and then out on the road, and then comes back home, plays the other night, and then here against a Colorado team. Now, he didn't see a lot of McKinnon, and that's solid coaching. You try to keep a rookie away, but I don't know. Like, I don't think he would have been fazed if he had been out there against Nathan McKinnon or Cale Makar or whoever. This kid just looks confident right now, and you do have to wonder. Like, they got 2 games here before the break. They kept him away from the AHL All-Star game for a reason, because they wanted him here. Got into the game the other night, and pretty good reason to be missing the AHL All-Star game that you've earned the opportunity for playing and contributing in the National Hockey League. Matt Blom says DPD is the exact player that old school coaches like Talking Foot love.
Yeah, absolutely.
And Rick's pretty much said that.
Yeah.
So, another good night. And he played with Carson Soucy, and that leads us into that part of the discussion as well, because Soucy was a healthy scratch. Tocchet carved him post-game, talked about needing a kick in the ass, so that was the coach's words this morning. And Carson Soucy stayed out. He skated with Mancini on what looked like an extra pair, but Rick was a bit cryptic with his messaging.
And he could play,
Well, I asked him. I asked him about his philosophy of sending a message and then allowing a guy to get back in and sort of prove that message was received. And it looked like Carson Soucy was going to be a healthy scratch 2 games in a row. And I started to wonder, is this asset management here? Like, do they have a trade? Because now the trade talk has certainly surfaced. So another super chat here. This one from Shane. Soucy looks expendable. Will there be any value there for the Canucks pre-deadline? Now he's got a full no trade. So keep that in mind, that he controls the cards to some degree here. I also thought if they had scratched him 2 in a row, was the Canucks was just them squeezing him a little bit, saying, "Hey, you're not going to play here. How about you play ball with us and maybe loosen your trade restrictions?" Whatever. He got in, didn't play a lot, 13 minutes and 36 seconds on the right side, but just what I didn't get here is, okay, you bring in all these new players. How many times have we heard both Tocchet and Patrick Allvin talk about practice habits, right? Like that's a common refrain for them. So you make the trades. Monday's a day off, which surprised me, but it may have been it may have been drawn up that way. I don't know.
For that,
but
yeah.
Then you have a morning skate, and Carson Soucy is on the fourth pair while Elias Pettersson is skating with Noah Juulsen. And then you get to the warm-up, and Juulsen's the extra body. Mancini didn't even take the warm-up. That one doesn't make a lot of sense to me. You can't hammer this drum about practice habits and then not practice the way that you're going to play. I was a little curious.
I was curious, and I mean, of course, there had been, I guess, questions marks before about Noah Juulsen, so it was possible that was the question there. But
he took the warm-up,
though. He did take the warm-up. Well, but that's, I guess, why. Anyway, it was very odd. The sequence was very strange. And I suppose we should always double check on what his lineups are going to be. But in that case, I mean, we saw him skating with Mancini. I mean, we knew Mancini's the project, right? That they want to have up here right now, and not the guy that. I mean, I think they're going to get him in the lineup, but they really want to work with him, see what he's got. They're very excited about him. But when you play him with a veteran like Carson Soucy in the morning skate, it's exactly as you said. There's no reason to think he's going to be slotted in. So, it's an odd one. We'll definitely have to see where it goes. Obviously, 2 more games before Four Nations, and we'll see what happens. But it does interest me, especially the way Pettersson's playing. I mean, I thought that earlier this morning. Is that going to advance? I mean, it's a depth question anyway. This is the kind of depth they want. I mean, I suppose if you're trying to. If the Canucks want to make the playoffs, right? You never have too many defensemen. But with the way Soucy has been playing, obviously that's been problematic.
Canucks win 3-0, 24th victory of the season. So they're now 24-18-11. That's 59 points in the standings. It also has them back into a tie with the Calgary Flames, who lost 6-3 at home to the Toronto Maple Leafs, who are making their way here for a Saturday afternoon showdown. So the Canucks and the Flames are even at 59 points. And Patrick, we need the confetti cannons and the air horn. A 10th home ice win. It took until February the 4th. There have been twists and turns galore, but the Vancouver Canucks have picked up their 10th home ice win of the season. 2 of them have come against the Colorado Avalanche. They're 10-10-7 in the 27 games that they have played at the Rod, so they've got 14 to go on home ice here in the regular season. All right, speaking of the fact that they've defeated the Colorado Avalanche twice, let's get to our stat that stands out in this hockey game, because this one, it certainly jumps out at me. Canucks have faced the Avs twice. They've given up 1 goal in those 2 games. Nathan McKinnon doesn't have a point. He's got 80 points on the season. He's got 80 points! And not one of them against the Canucks in 2 tries. So if you remember the last time Colorado was here, mid-December, Kiefer Sherwood had the hat trick.
Right.
And it looked like that was going to be a 3-0 win until Nichushkin scored in the final minute of play to break Thatcher Demko's shutout bid that night. And Thatcher Demko gets it done in this one, 25 saves. So, 3-0 and a 3-1 victory over the Colorado Avalanche, who, I mean, they're such a fascinating team. I mean, top-heavy, unlike any other team in the league. The league's leading scorer, who doesn't add to his total, Cale Makar came into this night a point behind Quinn Hughes, so he doesn't add to his point total either. They make the trade for Rantanen at the top of their lineup, absolute aces, but there are questions about the depth. And, if they run headlong into a Winnipeg or a Vegas or
the Vancouver Canucks.
Or the Vancouver Canucks. I mean, look, this is part of the reason that even though they'd come into tonight back-to-back shutout wins, 3 of 4, they're still a wild card team themselves. Yeah. And that Central is stacked, and I don't know. I'm not sure that there's enough. Looks like they've solidified their goaltending. Mackenzie Blackwood has been what they hoped. But in the middle, the top of the pyramid's incredible, but is there enough on this Colorado team to be any sort of force?
Well, and I mentioned to you before the game, or before the show, 4 shots against by the Canucks, right? They held Colorado to 4 shots in the third period. I mean, that's part of your story. That's how you only give up 1 goal in 2 games against a team that's supposed to be a high-flying offensive juggernaut. The Canucks defended really well in this game. They found their way. I mean, obviously the second period was a little bit high-flying. We had that scramble, but we're not giving away very much at all. And Colorado's a team that knows how to create great chances.
What did you make of Filip Chytil's second performance in a Vancouver Canuck uniform?
I continue to like the jump.
Yeah.
You know, there was I think Jay Fresh Hockey put the numbers together finally for everybody to stack it all up, because there's so much digging you have to do through the NHL Edge site, but he or she went and figured it out. Chytil and O'Connor immediately are like the 2 fastest skaters in the Canucks, and you can see why. And it to me, it's funny to think about the way they went into this season. You know, Rick Tocchet's being so open. I want to have more on the rush. Well, to be good on the rush, you actually have to have some speed, and they didn't have that, and now they do. And I just there was a play where Chytil jumped on the puck in the corner, just got to a loose puck and looped around. Nothing came of it, but it was just the way he was able to collect the puck in a way that we just haven't seen this season.
I think that was the play. Drew O'Connor's speed got in on the forecheck, turned the puck over, and Chytil came out of the corner. You're right. It like a pretty decent look materialized out of nothing, which can happen when you have that much speed to apply pressure to other teams' defenses.
Quite simply, you have the puck, right?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, that's the thing. That's been one of our criticisms of Elias Pettersson, the forward. It just hasn't had that jump this year, hasn't had those moments, and for whatever reason hasn't been able to replicate what it's had in past seasons. So to see Chytil and see O'Connor doing those sorts of things is such a reminder of where this team can still go and what this team still should be able to do.
Chytil got an assist on the empty netter, so it's a point. He's got a goal and an assist now. He's a point-a-game guy as a Vancouver Canuck. But the ice time's noticeable. I mean, 20 minutes and 45 seconds for a guy that was averaging about 14 and change for the Rangers. So they're using him.
Yep.
He's responded, 3 shots on goal, and crushed it in the faceoff circle again, won 8 of 11 draws. So something that we'll monitor here on the night the Canucks came out on the wrong side of 50%, but mostly that was Pia Suter, who had some real trouble against Nathan McKinnon in the head-to-head matchup there. But, Chytil's underlying numbers, really good as well. Individual Corsi of 60%. The shots on goal were 10-6 in the Canucks' favor. Expected goals at 65%. And Canucks generated 10 scoring chances when he was on the ice. There was a sequence early, a breakout, that it didn't lead to a glorious chance, but quick puck movement. Dakota Joshua got the puck to Chytil in the neutral zone, and he kind of does the rest from there. He drew the first penalty that the Canucks, first power play that the Canucks had with his speed. He's come as advertised here so far. It's early times, I get that, but you can see why he was a first-round pick in his draft year, and this is maybe a case of a guy that just needed an opportunity to play a little bit more, because certainly he's responded to it in these first 2 games.
And we've seen Rick Tocchet do this before, right? I mean, it's surprising that it's the brand new player, but riding the hot hand. I mean, as you said, Chytil played a ton overall, 14 minutes of even strength. I mean, Elias Pettersson, by the way, of the Canucks 4 centers, the least amount of even strength ice time. But Chytil's playing great. He's doing what they want. He's showing the way.
Yep.
And if you're going to try to get your new guys to their style of play to rub off on on the new teammates, you keep throwing them out there, and they keep doing stuff like this. It may be the final way to make the horses drink at the water that you've led them to.
That is interesting. Elias Pettersson, the center, is 9 minutes and 57 seconds of 5-on-5 ice time, so not even 10 minutes on the night. Where his line mates were effective and noticeable, he wasn't. And
to be clear, his line mates played 3 minutes more than him at even strength. So what they in the end got he got swapped around. There's something in there, I think, that is worth us investigating.
Matt Blom with the super chat says EP40 double clutching, always deferring. I think that certainly there is an element of that. Kazrak says really concerned about EP40, can't skate or shoot. Now, on one of the early power plays, he did rip a one-timer. He missed the target, but I thought, man, that's encouraging at least to see a puck in his wheelhouse, and he fired it wide. But my goodness, if that's my takeaway from the night, that, oh, wow, EP40 missed the net with a one-timer, it just tells you how much ground that this guy has to travel. The more I watch, the more I am convinced that there is something with his mechanics. And I know you've reported that he's not hurt, that's the word from people within the organization. I'm not saying he's hurt, but
there's something off. There's no doubt about that.
So just looking at his NHL Edge numbers, and I know you've looked at them as well, I mean, they're down across the board, the burst, the top end speed, the shot velocity, all those types of things. But even further than that, his top skating speed this year was registered on November the 5th against Anaheim, and his hardest shot was later that week at home against the Edmonton Oilers.
Yeah, which I remember. I think I said it was a shot that actually missed the net.
But that was early November.
Yeah.
It's now early February. Like, we're months down the road, and that's his top end. Like, So has he been in decline? Like, NHL Edge is so murky that, once a guy drops below 50%, you don't know how far he's truly fallen, right? They protect the they protect the
There's ways to
witnesses.
parse it out, but like you're below the average. A guy like
Yes.
Elias Pettersson should not be below the average. That
in
much
just
we know.
about any category.
Yeah.
But to me, the fact that he has set his personal bests for the season so long ago and hasn't topped them, you just wonder, like, on a graph, would he be in steady decline? It is tough. Like, even if you just didn't know the price tag on this guy, if you walked in off the street and ranked the best Canuck players on a night like tonight, you'd have a lot of guys, most of the guys, ahead of him. And that is concerning, that we keep waiting for these flashes and nights where he takes over a hockey game and he's got 29 chances left if he plays them all. Where other guys stepped up in the absence of Quinn Hughes. So this just kind of felt like more of the same, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's I don't even know if baffling is the word anymore. I keep saying that, but it's alarming. The fact it it doesn't coincide with him signing his new contract. The problems that started before that, but it's just that it's so sudden. It wasn't even like we said this guy is, getting too much puck luck. Like, we think about the goal against the Rangers last year that was absolutely, him willing the puck into the net, right?
Just the idea of him scoring that right now.
It's baffling. It's mind blowing. I don't, I'm running out of words
I know.
to try to figure out what it is. And I mean, I will say this: there was one good moment I would say in the room. He was laughing. We saw him laughing with Jake DeBrusk, which stands out because we haven't seen a whole lot from that from him this year. So perhaps his line mates will lift him up and bring him back to who he used to be.
2 games to go before the Four Nations break. Mm-hmm. Do you have any expectations that the Four Nations will be liberating for him in any way? Or, like, if you're the coach of Team Sweden, like, you can't wait.
No.
It's such a short-form tournament. You can't wait for a guy to find his game. So I think I am going to be fascinated. Like I said, I'm not totally invested in this tournament, but I'll watch. Mm-hmm. But one of the things I am going to watch is Elias Pettersson, because I just, like, if he goes and does perform, what does that say about his time here?
Yeah.
But if he goes and he doesn't perform, then you're like, what is it? Like, what will it take to get through to this guy to make him the player that he once was?
And you look at the way the Swedish roster is set up, like he is going to be a guy they are leaning on, right? I mean, there's obviously a few options of guys that can swap around, but in the end, he is basically the leading offensive center, him and Zibanejad, and they're going to need him to lead the way offensively. Joel Eriksson Ek, obviously a good player. Adrian Kempe, good player. Elias Lindholm has been a good player. But when it comes to leading the front line, it's going to be Elias Pettersson for Sweden. They need him to be that guy, and if he's not, everyone's going to notice.
I mean, it's sort of best on best. I mean, it's the best or the closest that these guys are going to get. And I think we are now wondering about Quinn Hughes and his ability and availability and participation, but. Really interested to see kind of what this looks like for Elias Pettersson and if he can just remove himself from everything that's gone on in the NHL level. I know it's still an NHL tournament, but throwing on Team Sweden's jersey, we shall see. Mannix with a super chat that says, as a Swede that grew up in the same system as EP40, take it from me, he's entitled. I don't know. I mean, I don't know if your background, but
I would say this to a certain degree. To this point in his career, probably been allowed to be. But the problem is he's hit the wall, and I kind of go back to part of what I kind of figured last year was that he just didn't have, he'd never struggled like this before and had no coping mechanism for it because his entire career had been successful. But the way he's certainly you can buy him struggling to manage his current situation. And if there's people that play with and they feel that way, well, fair enough.
Yeah, and look, I don't want to turn this into a night where we bash EP40 because certainly it's been a season of that. There were better storylines to dig into, and so, you want more. Absolutely, you want more. But this night's over, and on to another one on Thursday in San Jose, and then you got the Leafs here on Saturday, and we'll see what that one looks like, final game before the break. Speaking of Four Nations, as we were, come watch the Nations tournament with your Vancouver crew. We've got a watch party at Greta Bar. It's all presented by Fountain Tire Canada versus the U.S. Boo. There were a few boos before the anthem tonight, but not
same.
Yeah, it wasn't quite as pronounced as the other night. Now, some things have changed, obviously, on the political landscape there, so maybe that impacted it. But we're done with two anthem games at Rogers Arena for a while because you got the Leafs on Saturday,
Right.
so we can all sing and cheer for Canada and then get on with it. The watch party on February 15th, Canada versus the U.S., Sekeres and Price are going to be your hosts. It's all in support of everything we do here with Rinkwide and Canucks Army as well. A raffle with exclusive prizes. It's your chance to party it up and cheer for this once-in-a-lifetime Team Canada, and it's all in support of Social Run Club YVR. Tickets are $10, or you can upgrade to a VIP package for $40, which includes a burger, a beverage, and an arcade game card, and you can snag a table for up to 6 people with each VIP package. It's a 19-plus event. Doors at 4, game at 5 o'clock. Grab your tickets right now at nationgear.ca. Again, nationgear.ca is the website, and we hope to see you at Greta for Canada versus the U.S. on February the 15th. All right, we did a stat that stands out earlier. A second one, we're doubling back a little bit. This one's unofficial, but did you see the ice time for Devon Toews in this hockey game?
Oh, my God. I was tired just looking at it.
Over 10 minutes in each of the periods when we talk about them being top-heavy.
Yeah.
12 minutes and 12 seconds of the third period. Out there doing a ton of penalty killing when the Avs ran into the penalty problems. On the night, 32 minutes and 53 seconds, 13 seconds shy of the highest ice time by any player in the National Hockey League at any point this season. Here's the kicker. Ryan Suter.
40-year-old.
40-year-old Ryan Suter.
Should be hosting a podcast, not playing hockey.
Yeah. I don't know what led to Ryan Suter. They got Colton Parayko in St. Louis. What led to Ryan Suter logging 33 minutes and 6 seconds of ice time? But Devon Toews at 32:53, so he should sleep well tonight. Team didn't get the win, but he was active, and Cale Makar up over 30 minutes and 37 seconds for Makar. 4 shots on goal, 12 attempts as a defenseman for Cale. And honestly, with the posts and that sequence in the second period, it's not a lie. Like, Cale Makar could have scored 4 or 5 goals in this hockey game. He's at 19, so he's knocking on the door of a third 20-goal season. You know, when people compare Hughes and Makar, goal scoring is in Makar's favor. It just is. Quinn Hughes has the Norris, and certainly making a strong case to retain the Norris. But if goals are your thing, Cale Makar, that is an element that he brings to the mix that is slightly better than Quinn Hughes, who's at 14 and having a nice season on the goal-scoring front. But, man, goal scoring is a big part of what Cale Makar does, and he is dangerous in that regard. But Thatcher Demko got the better of him. Incredible stop in the slot on the start of that sequence, and then it worked its way around to Lehkonen on the right side, and Demko getting across to make saves that we were so used to seeing from him on a nightly basis last year that we just haven't seen from him. So welcome back, old-time Thatcher Demko. Good to see. Now, he was good in Nashville last week, and you hope that was something to build on. Wasn't nearly as good in Dallas and gave up 3 goals on 14 shots. So then lost the net at home to Detroit, but got the start in here. And, we'll see. Do they split the goaltending starts with 2 games to go, or does Demko run from here to the break? Because Lankinen isn't getting the break, so maybe they give him a little bit of rest ahead of the Four Nations, even though he's not likely to play he's probably. I mean, I think it's pretty safe to say Lankinen's the third goaltender for Finland behind UC Saros and UPL in Buffalo. So I don't know if Lankinen's going to see any ice time in the Four Nations, but he'll be there and certainly be part of the group and get some practices in. But we've been talking about winning you're in. We have seen Rick Tocchet go away from a guy that got a shutout.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of think that you're going to see Thatcher Demko again on Thursday.
Yeah, and I mean, we've seen it recently. I mean, just last week, basically saying we need to get our guy going.
Yeah.
And I think we know Rick Tocchet well enough to know at this point that he is going to put Thatcher Demko back in the net on Thursday just because he has generally gone to his instinct in these situations and said, listen, I can't go away from a guy that's coming off a shutout. Right or wrong, because they generally, they've kind of had a plan. There was that plan to go back and forth. But they went away from it. They went to it, and Lankinen had the, he didn't. He wouldn't. Tocchet was kind of, I don't know, and he, in the end, you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. And I think he's come to the conclusion that if he starts his guy after a shutout, he's just going to do that.
Yeah, look, I mean, a Saturday night at home against the Toronto Maple Leafs before the break, I'm sure both guys want that start. Now, Lankinen blanked the Leafs in Toronto, so there's some recent history there. I don't know. I mean, they can't worry about Toronto right now. Next up is the San Jose Sharks, so that'll be their focus. They're supposed to skate here in town and then fly, easy flight, obviously, down to the Bay Area, so get a practice in and then take on the San Jose Sharks on Thursday night, which, of course, will be our next episode of Rink Wide Vancouver as we continue to do this after each and every Vancouver Canucks game all season long. I'm just looking at some of the individual numbers. For EP40, it's 1 goal in 13 games. That's not good enough.
Nope.
Jake DeBrusk, we talked about his struggles. He had just 2 goals in his last 13, so make it 3 and 14. You'd still like to see him. And for Brock Besser, he 1 in 10 scored, and it was a pretty goal in Edmonton.
Yeah.
It's been sort of few and far between for him. DeBrusk up to 19. Besser keeps pace. He's at 17 on the season. So those are your 2 leading goal scorers for the Vancouver Canucks. But again, I mean, they're past the 50-game mark. No 20-goal scorers. And I asked on social yesterday, Connor Garland was the leading forward, and I guess still is, or did DeBrusk catch him?
Nope.
Garland with 34 points.
Besser caught him.
Caught him. So Besser's up to 34 as well. And then you've got Elias Pettersson at 33. Like, how many 50-point forwards are the Vancouver Canucks going to have?
It's astonishing.
29 games to go.
We didn't think they would repeat the success of last year. There was so much luck involved. But to see the fall off in scoring, I mean, JT Miller had 35 points in 40 games. I mean, that was a fall off for him.
Yep.
There was just not enough happening, and a lot of it's been. We've talked lots about the power play. The power play has sort of been hit and miss, and anything that's happened without Quinn Hughes on the ice, I mean, that's been rare. That's what stands out of this game. That's what stands out of the last game, is that things are actually kind of happening. They actually did a decent enough job creating stuff. They can still do better. They still need more from Elias Pettersson to repeat.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're absolutely right. If there's a statement there you want to stat that stands out about the season, it's the fact that they've got all these forwards stuck on in the 30s, in the low 30s, and we are well into the second half of the season.
Just their second win in the 6 games that Quinn Hughes has been out of the lineup. The other one was a shootout victory in Seattle, so the first regulation win without the captain. And, yeah, I mean, that's the story, is that from Demko on out, best players stepped up and outperformed and certainly outproduced Colorado's best players. Now, was Nathan MacKinnon absolutely dynamic at times in this game? Yeah, he's frightening every time he touches the puck. It is edge of the seat stuff. I mean, it's going to be wild to see him and Connor McDavid on the same team. Like, say what you will about Four Nations, this is an opportunity that we've been waiting for as hockey fans and as a nation to see those 2 guys. And I don't know if they'll play together. I would think at some point they'd probably see the ice. Imagine is there 3-on-3 overtime in this tournament?
There is. I saw a commercial explaining all this.
Okay, good. See, I don't even know.
I think the final
format and the rules.
The final has proper overtime periods.
But imagine being able to put McDavid and McKinnon out 3-on-3.
And Makar.
Serve it up. Bring it on. I want to see that. Just as I look at Nathan McKinnon's night, though, 22 minutes of ice time, 5 shots, 9 attempts. I mean, that's sort of par for the course for him. 15 and 8 in the faceoff circle. And Marty Nakash looks dangerous. He had 3 shots on 7 attempts. So those guys were firing the puck, but Dr. Demko was up to the challenge. And then we talked about Hronek and the guys up front. I'm seeing some in the chat that, we haven't talked about some of the lower in the lineup guys. Graham says Hogues was awesome tonight. Loved his play. He was spirited, certainly. Didn't play much, as has been the case on a lot of nights this season for Nils Hoglander. Didn't even get to 10 minutes of ice time. But
there was a shift. Yeah, you're right. I mean, not tons of ice, but there was a shift where he, made a bit of a poor play defensively, but the puck got back up the ice, and he was the guy who led the attack and turned the puck over. And I'm just looking at some of the numbers of Money Puck with their expected goals. So 10-game rolling average. Nils Hoglander's actually popped up to the top of the list. Like he is making effective use of his time, and I think that's the most positive, or that is a positive, I would say, overall. That is a good sign for this team going forward.
He actually had a decent January where a lot of guys didn't, and certainly the top of the lineup guys really struggled. His numbers didn't jump off the page, but when you think of the reasons coaches have limited his ice time, taken him out of the lineup, it's because of the defensive plays, the miscues, and ultimately some penalties and puck winding up in the net. I think ahead of the Dallas game, I had looked in the month of January alone, Canucks had outscored opponents 7-1 at 5-on-5 with Nils Hoglander on the ice, and yet he had been a healthy scratch twice in the month of January, which sometimes it feels like he's the easy candidate to come out of the lineup, but not the right candidate necessarily. And on a line with Teddy Bluger and Linus Karlsson, who took one in the jollies there in the third period and looked to be in a little bit of distress, as you can imagine. Hopefully he's okay. Needless stick work, and the officials, I think, got that one right.
I think they nailed it in the end, I mean, certainly the reaction was, oh, my God. Oh, my God. Hey, there's Brock. Oh, my God. But, no, I think they got that right. I mean, obviously, again, the Canucks had a power play and would have been nice to put the game away. But, and the team reaction, you always want to see the team react strongly. I mean, there was frustration in Buffalo about how they reacted to Tage Thompson being knocked down. So, good to see Tyler Myers. What a shock. Tyler Myers keeps flying and looking for trouble. But yeah, it was, I don't know what else to say there, Jeff. Sorry.
No, I'm looking at ice time. Hoglander was, in fact, the low ice time guy, even less than Linus Karlsson by about half a minute. And that's just kind of his lot in life here. And he's got to find a way. If he's going to stay in the lineup, he's got to find a way to make the most of those 10 minutes. And I agree. I thought there was some energy and some hustle in his game.
You mentioned Linus Karlsson, by the way. That might have been his best game I've seen him play. Like, he didn't play a ton, but he's around. I was impressed how much he was around the puck, on the puck. Didn't look sluggish. I mean, there's been times, I think, where we've noticed him looking sluggish. +9 in Corsi, which is a thing. But yeah, I mean, only 951. But there's a player that is fighting for a spot. We know that Rick Tocchet is a fan of his, has appreciated the way he plays. And here's his opportunity right now. And in games like that, in big games like this, when you're playing depth minutes, that is a way to make an impact. Shots were 6-1 for the Canucks with him on the ice. Like a nice, tidy game from a depth forward.
And I don't know if you recall the sequence, but made a nice pass to Spring Drew O'Connor in on left wing. Sam Girard got over and kind of nullified what looked like it might be a pretty good opportunity. But again, I mean, just simple stuff, but the right play in that moment.
Yeah.
And so with underlying numbers like that, I mean, those are the types of things that a coach is going to appreciate. Look, Rick Tocchet, I didn't fully understand it always when Rick Tocchet would be asked about Linus Karlsson, and he would talk about him being a sticky guy. And I always thought, like, is that just coach speak for I don't really have much to say? So I'm going to use a term that people don't fully grasp. And, it sounds like a compliment, but I don't know if it truly is.
Yeah.
But I agree on this call-up, and, like, the goal is great and good for him. But there's been way more than just the goal. Like, to me, he has looked like a National Hockey Leaguer on this call-up.
Yes.
Like, when they inserted him into the playoff lineup last year, and I thought, really? Like, okay, Hoglander's struggling, but really? You're putting Linus Karlsson in the lineup because he's sticky? And, he didn't do anything.
No.
But he looks like a whole lot better. Like, he's a good American hockey leaguer and is probably a tweener. I'm not sold on him being one of the top 12 forwards in the organization, but right now, getting a little bit of burst, no issues with the way that he's playing or the fact that he is in the lineup on a nightly basis.
And that is sort of the task, is it seems to have been the trend with Tocchet is that his 12th guy tends to be sort of riding a hot hand. He's got a couple options, PDG obviously being a regular feature in that role, but a guy that, listen, we want a little energy. I'm going to bring him in fresh. I'm just going to kind of play on that. It's almost like the old, turbo button in a video game where you have to wait for it to load up. So you can only use these guys every few games because they don't have that much turbo in the load. But yeah, so it's obviously not a huge thing. More importantly is the play of your top players. But when the top players are resting, it's good to know that they've got some options at the bottom of the lineup.
Canucks beat the Colorado Avalanche 3-0. Brock Boeser with his 17th of the year turns out to be insurance, although it was a big one at the time. Extended that lead from 1-0 to 2-0. Drew O'Connor ends this hockey game with an empty netter. Let's get inside the locker room. A little post-game reaction for the first time here on this episode of Rink Wide Vancouver. Here is Brock Boeser on the 3-0 victory over the Avs.
I was really proud of the way we played, and it's a good hockey team over there, and we knew, obviously they're star guys, what they can do in a game, and they got some looks, but I think we kept strong and held the fort down, and Denver made some unreal saves. So, kudos to everyone tonight.
How good do you feel for Thatcher after everything he's been through to get his first shutout of the year?
Oh, so happy for him. He works so hard. He does everything the right way. He's such a good pro, and for him to get a shutout tonight, just as one of his good friends, it's awesome to see, and to see him make some saves like that, it's, I'm just so happy for him.
Do you guys think about that in the final few minutes there when they're making that last push, about getting that shutout for him?
Yeah, honestly, I think, it's definitely in the back of our heads, that and winning the hockey game. We definitely don't want to give up a goal for multiple reasons, for obviously that reason, and then to let him back in the game. So, I'm just happy that we competed till the final horn.
Aside from Demko, why have you guys been defending better, Brock, holding the team out?
Yeah, I think, just lately we're playing a lot better defensively, and I think it starts with our breakouts. I think our breakouts have been cleaner, and, when you're having clean breakouts, you're not in the D zone as much, and, I think that's a big aspect, and, I think earlier in the season we always talked about our breakouts weren't great, and that's when we were giving up a lot of shots. So I think it's been better, and we got to keep it going.
Was it breakouts as well that sort of changed what the game looked like after the first period? Because especially defensive games seemed to really level up the latter 40 minutes.
Yeah, for sure. Obviously they made a couple pushes there, but I think we held strong, and then we kind of took over and got some good looks there in the second, and I really kind of felt that we started outworking them and outcompeting them, and drew a couple penalties and got some power plays and got momentum, so it was good.
Chatty Brock Boeser, but a pretty good summation of the hockey game. And I kudos to everybody. Kudos to everybody.
I just want to mention, he was asked about the finish of the game, but he was on the bench. But that actually is an interesting point, because look at who was on the ice. We had Philip Hedl, we had Drew O'Connor, we had Marcus Pettersson, we had Teddy Bluger there, obviously, for faceoffs, and Tyler Myers. 3 of the new faces being ridden in the big moment. And, Brock Boeser has been a guy that they have looked to, saying, listen, we think you can do this. And he's been a guy that this year. But, Boeser had a pretty good game. Got a goal, obviously. But, the team effort, the kudos to everybody, literally.
Boeser had the chance before he scored, about 5 minutes into the third, where he put it back through Mackenzie Blackwood and out the other side, and you thought, oh man, it's just going to be one of those nights where he has some looks, it doesn't happen, but volume shooter, 4 shots on 9 attempts. You like to see that. That's when Brock is dialed in. He's got the puck on his stick in the offensive zone. We talked about power play time, and ultimately he scores a power play goal off the rush, which isn't a conventional power play goal, and certainly not for Brock Boeser, but nice feed from DeBrusk and nice finish to just tuck it inside the post on Mackenzie Blackwood. So, good night for everybody, top to bottom, the Canucks lineup, including Brock Boeser. We'll look ahead to the next game here in a sec. It was a busy night on the National Hockey League scoreboard. Some of the late games in the West. Detroit beat Seattle 5-4 in a shootout. Anaheim edges Dallas by a score of 2-1. And Montreal beat the San Jose Sharks. That'll be the next opponent for the Canucks. Montreal with a 4-3 win at the Shark Tank. Utah got Dylan Gunther back in their lineup. He scored twice, the tying goal and then the overtime winner. Utah downed Philadelphia by a score of 3-2. Now, as we look ahead, not as busy when you have one of these nights where just about everybody plays. A lot of nights, not everybody in action. And that is the case on Wednesday around the National Hockey League. And that leads us to our Bet365 line of the night. Bet365, a proud partner of Rinkwide Vancouver. Open an account with Bet365 today. Bet on a huge range of markets. Use code NATION. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Now, the Boston Bruins were winners tonight against the Minnesota Wild. Shut the Wild out 3-0. Quick turnaround. Bruins are going back-to-back against JT Miller and those New York Rangers at Madison Square. You'll remember on the weekend that the Bruins defeated JT Miller and the New York Rangers in JT's debut. Bruins are going to be the tired team, but they're coming in off the victory here. I'm going to take the visitors on the money line at plus 140. So there you go. We'll see how that one plays out, but I'm taking the Boston Bruins, betting against JT and his New York Rangers. Now,
Jeff, I have to admit, I had not looked at the extent of the Rangers' schedule. They have 5 games this week. They've got the back-to-back last weekend. They have the game tomorrow, and then Friday and Saturday.
And they're fighting for their playoff life. So, I know some people were surprised that, JT Miller's already in their lineup on Saturday. No, they made the trade on Friday night. They need him. They make the trade. Yeah. You want that guy in your lineup, and he's produced already and got his 4 points, 2 games. They beat Vegas the other night, so we'll see. They're the rested team. We'll see if they can make that work in their favor against the Boston Bruins. Now, the Sharks, as we said, lost to Montreal. They are last place in the National Hockey League. They have 5 wins in their last 27 games. Canucks have already beaten them in San Jose. Remember, they needed the last-minute goal from Pius Suter in early November, the start of that California road trip. And then the game before Christmas, Elias Pettersson scored twice. 2 goals in the same game.
I don't believe you.
And then he left. And hasn't really... he's back, but he isn't really back.
Yeah.
Worst goal differential in the NHL for the Sharks. Last place, they dealt Mikael Granlund and Cody Ceci to Dallas on the weekend, so the sell-off there has begun. Macklin Celebrini with another goal, a power play goal. Kid's a teenager. He's got 17 goals in the National Hockey League. It's incredible. Tyler Toffoli leads them. He's got 18 goals. Celebrini and William Eklund are tied for the team leader. At least they were heading into the night. When I look at this San Jose team, Patrick, 2 wins when they give up the first goal of the hockey game. They are 2-27-3. So jump on them early, and that's generally going to lead to some good things. You can see what they're trying to put together there in their future. They've got Askarov in goal. They picked Sam Dickinson 11th overall, the second of their first rounders after Celebrini last year. He's a defenseman. Could use a little more help on the back end, but Celebrini, Will Smith, William Eklund's 22 years old. He's played 150 NHL games already. Quentin Musty was a first-rounder who had 100 points in the OHL. Colin Graff scored tonight. He's a point-a-game guy in the American Hockey League this season. He's only 22 years of age. So they've got this young nucleus, but in the here and now, it's tough sledding, and especially when they're starting to move pieces like Granlund, who's had a really nice season there. I'm not surprised that they were able to turn him into a first-round pick. Better than his brother. Far more productive, certainly, than his brother.
Are you ready for a San Jose Sharks true or false question?
Sure. What do you got for me?
True or false? The San Jose Sharks have more shot attempts this season than the Vancouver Canucks.
Yeah, I think every team in the league does.
It's true.
Yeah.
Here's the difference: the Sharks have given up a league-leading 2,974 shots against, which is more than 100 shots against more shot attempts against than the Anaheim Ducks, and that's 600 more than the Canucks.
Yeah,
that's your entire story.
Worst defensive team in the NHL in terms of goals and shots per game. And look, they're a bad team on a lot of nights. They were tied 3-3 with Montreal with 5 minutes to go in this hockey game, and the Habs put the puck over the glass. San Jose went to the power play and gave up a short-handed goal that turned out to be the winner. So they're finding different ways to lose hockey games, and we'll see. The Canucks haven't beaten any opponent 3 times yet this year. Colorado, 2 wins. In fact, I think they've beaten 4 teams twice. Colorado, Florida.
Yep.
San Jose and Chicago. So they have a chance to do something on Thursday that they haven't done yet. I mean, they haven't played a lot of teams 3 times, but they do have a chance to go 3-0 against the San Jose Sharks. Super chat from Web.3 says, Hoglander one-punching Ross Colton was amazing. Yeah, I mean, look, we said, like, there was some spirit and some energy. We're showing the video, and yeah, down goes Colton.
And the hair flying, the whole thing was great.
Yeah. Again, it's hard to find a passenger on the Vancouver Canucks on a night like this one. A good team effort all around. So they have to pack that up, go on the road, just a one-off to San Jose, and then hustle back home to take on the Leafs on Saturday. But we will do this again on Thursday. It's a 7:30 start, so it'll be a little bit later to drop the puck, later to start Rink-Wide Vancouver. But when the game is over, make sure that you're with us. We'll be back to do this all again after the Canucks and Sharks on Thursday. Thatcher Demko, 25 saves for his shutout of the season. He was the first star in the rink and here on Rink-Wide as well. 24 wins for the Canucks, 10 of them now on home ice. One of their more complete efforts of the season. Can they, will they back it up with another at the Shark Tank on Thursday? Atsu working hard behind the scenes. We appreciate all of his help getting us up and running here and keeping the live stream moving along. Patrick, again, nice to have you here in studio.
It's always a pleasure. I look forward to Thursday.
I look forward to Thursday as well, but we'll have to wait. Can't do 2 shows in one night. Doesn't work that way. So we'll see what Thursday brings, and then we'll be back here with Rink-Wide Vancouver. Already looking forward to it. So again, thanks to everybody for joining us. You have been watching or listening to Rink-Wide Vancouver.